having to do the obligatory check to see if the sound is working. So I'll just ask that respectfully and see if you can indeed hear me, and then we'll get stuck into the program. Remembering that it's a 4-day long weekend. We're into the second day. Yesterday was a public holiday for like public services, not for the whole of Thailand. Tomorrow is Visakha Busha Day. I think I butchered that particular terminology, but it's the most profound or sacred of the major Buddhist holidays. That's tomorrow, and great, you can hear me. And then Monday will be the substitute holiday. Now, we are actually in a restaurant this morning, and there's quite a lot of noise around me, but yeah, just a bit of background atmosphere. I'm enjoying a coffee here at Dean and DeLuca in Phuket. So a lot of people here this morning, and there's certainly, what can I say, a bit of a buzz around that things are improving. Certainly nothing like they were back in 2019, but compared to a lot of the last 2 years, things are on the improve as far as numbers of people are concerned. Even Thai people seem to be travelling a bit more than they used to. There was a lot of hope that people might be getting out more over the long weekend to enjoy a bit of tourism and visit other provinces, but it appears that that hasn't really happened. But we've got a few stories that we'll be talking about that shortly. But it is a 4-day long weekend, and I'm spending an hour with you this morning. So not only bringing you some of the latest stories from around Thailand, but also we'll have a chat. And yeah, if you disagree, that's fine. We'll read out your opinions, but be respectful, and be, of course, respectful to the other people in the comments section. As we do, we'll obviously give preference to the members because they've put the money up and they deserve to be given preferential treatment. I should say good morning to Rusty Lid, Stevie J, David Benjamin. David Benjamin says, good morning, Tim. Hopefully Jay will not be joining. I actually doubt he would work on a weekend. Well, actually, Jay will be here tomorrow morning. Jay and I swap over doing the Thaiger weekend update. It's a one-person show. Jay does it on either Saturday or Sunday, and I do the other day. But yeah, Jay indeed is off today. Good afternoon, Tim from Auckland. That's from Albert, the land of the long white cloud, a lovely part of the world. Dating Guru is with us, Bob B, Tex Symbol. So plenty of people here. In fact, we've already got about 150 people online for the program. I thought what I'd do today is, like I do most days when I do this program, is just go through some of the main news stories that are floating around the news services in Thailand, including, of course, the Thaiger.com, and then we'll have a chat about those things and other things that are bothering you or bewildering you. Living in Thailand, there's always plenty to bewilder us. Hello to Weston, saying good afternoon from Melbourne, my old hometown. Well, I never actually lived in the Melbourne CBD. I think the closest I ever lived to Melbourne was either Richmond or Yarraville. They're suburbs of Melbourne, but I spent most of my early life down the Mornington Peninsula. The noises you can hear in the background are the noises of a cafe, because I'm in a very busy cafe this morning. Got some 50 or so people. We might go for a walk later and have a bit of a look. Why is Tim's coffee on the seat? Yes, I'm sorry. I have had my coffee and I didn't know where to put it. Good question. Thank you very much, David. Put it a bit further away so you can't see it. You can see a lot more than I thought. All right, so let's get into it. Good morning from the Netherlands, from John Aussie. Australian John, I'm assuming. Well, good to have you all the way from the Netherlands today. Let's get into some of today's main topics. And yeah, there's a reminder at the Thaiger.com that tomorrow is Visakha Busha Day. Might be pronounced Wisakha in Thai, Visakha Busha Day. It's one of 4 of the really holy days on the Buddhist calendar each year. And tomorrow will be a no alcohol day. So all your 7-Elevens, most places you'll be unable to buy alcohol, and certainly most of the bars will be closed. Well, if they're open, they might be serving lemonade and orange juice. I'm not really sure how that works, but it is basically a no alcohol day in Thailand. Stories about, well, we've got two competing stories here. One is from Pattaya, which is talking about Koh Larn, one of the really pretty little islands just off the coast of Pattaya, saying that the hotels are 100% occupied. Now that flies in the face with another story that is being posted today, and that was on the BKK Post, and the headline of that story is "Hoteliers Downbeat Over the Long Weekend." And the headline of that basically saying that tourism operators received a lukewarm response to the 4-day holiday this weekend as the economic downturn derails travel decisions, prompting operators to rely on gradual returns of international arrivals. Now that's quite a different narrative than we've had in the past, which has shown that the tourism operators have been depending on domestic travel to keep things going in Thailand and to at least keep their hotel doors open in some cases. But this story is perhaps suggesting that the flow of domestic tourism is starting to dry up and people aren't travelling much on this 4-day weekend, and that they're actually relying on the return of international travellers. Well, we know that's not going to happen instantly, and it's going to be more of a dribble than a sort of a complete new wash of international tourism sweeping into Thailand. So the president of the Thai Hoteliers Association is saying that hotel occupancy in Pattaya, speaking specifically about the city just 2 hours east of Bangkok, remains at only 60% as locals already spent their budget during Songkran and Labor Day being the May 1st weekend. So a different story there coming out of the Bangkok Post, in contrast to that story about Koh Larn, which is just off Pattaya, but I suppose it's a little microcosm of Pattaya tourism. And it's great to see that they are, well, fully occupied, it appears. So a story there at the Thaiger.com. Another interesting story at the Thaiger today is about real estate prices and developers. And developers they're saying that things have been a bit sluggish, obviously, in the recent past, but now the prices for properties are being forced to rise, certainly for new properties. And if the prices start going up for the new properties, it will drag up the price for the prices for the legacy market as well. Some property developers saying that construction prices are going up 5 to 10%, and that will be pushing up prices for property around Thailand. It's another story at the Thaiger.com. So from the second quarter of 2020 to the first quarter of 2022, the price index of land in Bangkok increased by nearly 2%. That's not too much, contrasted with 4% from 2015 to 2019. So prices for land in Thailand are starting to creep up. They plateaued for a while, maybe a bit in the last decade, but they're now starting to creep up, and I've noticed certainly around the island of Phuket, where of course they can't keep on just pushing out and out and out. There is quite a rise in prices, which is pushing up a lot of the legacy properties I've noticed over the past year. And speaking to some of the agents over the past few days, they're saying that, yeah, people are not only asking for higher prices now in a place like Phuket, but they're actually getting them. And properties in some cases are literally flying off the books. So yeah, the property market in some sectors is actually quite bullish and quite strong. So interesting dynamic going on there despite the other tensions around the world. What are other major stories happening today? And as we say that, we say hello to Crypto Kev. Crypto Kev, how's the crypto going? Obviously been watching some of the big changes and the challenges there in the crypto market. Paul Corbett says, "G'day Tim from Patong Beach. Nice to have you with us. Surf's up, unusual for Patong." You can get some pretty good surf at Patong on some days. I mean, Phuket's is pretty, they've got a sort of a surfy image, but the surf's not really great here. I used to do some surfing in my younger days, and I wouldn't really rate the surf here. It's pretty good for beginners though on some days. Aussie Chris says, "Morning Tim, I tested positive yesterday, but who cares when you're stuck in boring cold Canberra." as long as I'm fit for Phuket in a month. I'm sure you will be, Aussie Chris, and we welcome you to Thailand when you get here. Jack Fletcher says 6 more weeks and we'll be back to our country home there. Country home here in Thailand, Jack? That's good. We've got somebody from Sweden, Emma Meng. And Sweden, I noticed last night, getting through to the finals of the Eurovision Song Contest, which will be held on Saturday night, Italy time. I'm a bit of a fan of Eurovision. Any of you into Eurovision? Had a Eurovision party at my home last night. Hello to Tom, Sue, Jay, Arena, the rest of the team who were there last night. We had quite a good evening watching the second semi-final for the Eurovision Song Contest. Crazy. Some of the acts, I don't know. It's just always entertaining, and it just gets better and better, or worse and worse every year. Either way, it's always really entertaining watching. Bob B, hello. Thumper Squid, order some poop soup I saw on Best Ever Food Review Show. Okay. Alf Zampona. Hi Tim, good afternoon from Melbourne. Forgetting of course, although it's just 15 minutes past 10 here in Phuket, Thailand. It is afternoon in places like Australia and New Zealand already. But it's, what can we say? It's still Friday the 13th in some countries on over the other side of the date line. Bitcoin, USD 29,500 as of 10:05. Yeah, Richard, thank you very much for passing that on. I have been watching the travails of Bitcoin over the past few weeks, and certainly those people who are into Bitcoin and hoping to use it as an investment for the future. In fact, anybody in the stock markets around the world at the moment are having a very challenging time. My own feeling, and don't have skin in the game. I don't have Bitcoin, I don't have shares, but I do watch these markets because they are barometers of the economy to a degree. And they're having a really tough time. I think it was last week where I read out some of the drops since January the 1st this year in some of the major stocks, some of them down 30, 40, 50%. Those people that bought in November last year Bitcoin, they've already lost 50% of their investment just over the past 6 months. So a really rough time. And hang in there, I suppose, or get out. That's a decision you're going to have to make. Okay, let's address some of your comments. We might get back to some of the news a bit later. Sven Sorensen. Hello, Sven. Sounds like a Nordic name to me. Good morning, always enjoy your show. I'm doing a visa run on Friday to Vietnam for 4 days. I've done my Thailand Pass and looks like that's all I need to do. Is this right? Then tourism should pick up. Yes, at the moment, if you're going in and out of Thailand, even if it's for a visa run, which not encouraged by the Thai Immigration Department anymore, but if you're doing a visa run, then you will have to, at the moment, get a Thailand Pass. Tim, can you help an American pronounce Cairns? My father is set to retire there, and I know we aren't saying it right, says Stevie J. I always say Cairns. Cairns? Cairns. Not one of my favourite spots of Australia, but it's sort of a jumping off place to the Great Barrier Reef and some very, very pretty islands. But a lot of people live up in Cairns. Cairns, that's how I'd say it, Stevie. Crypto Kev says, great time to buy. Yeah, look, there's a lot of sentiment in the crypto industry at the moment of people saying, oh, look, the price is down, a great time to buy. That's not something that you want to be telling people who bought, say, on November the 20th last year when it hit its all-time high. Paul Austin from Udon Thani. Hello, Paul. Thank you for joining us all the way from very pretty part of the world. I love Isan, and we would love to get up there and do a few shows from, say, Udon Thani, from Ubon Ratchathani, up in Loei. There's some really pretty places, Konkan, of course, and up around the Mekong. We'd love to get up there and do some shows. M. Maranta says, my hair looks good today. Thank you very much. I spent a lot of time on it this morning too. Rolf, what about a gold medial insurance for expats over? I can't really comment about insurance companies or insurance for people. I know insurance for people over 65, 70, in some cases older than that, can be very difficult to get at the moment. I'm not in a position to recommend anybody because the insurance policies do change and I don't have the latest information. I suppose that asking on our Thaiger Talk forum would be able to give you at least some options of people who will give you their own advice. I'm not in a position to give you any advice on that because I'm not up to date with all the latest insurances. I do have health insurance here in Thailand. I do that through a broker. I'm actually not sure who the actual insurance company is, to be honest. That health insurance covers me for sort of medium coverage, I suppose you'd call it, and that costs me 45,000 baht a year. Even though I'm a full-time employee with a work permit, once you're over 60, you are not covered by the universal health insurance in Thailand, so you do have to get your own private health insurance. There was another story a little bit earlier. I'm coming over on December the 10th for 8 weeks. Can you give me an address for an English-speaking dental clinic in Phuket? I'm staying in a particular resort and spa the first week in Patong. John, again, I'm not really going to recommend places. However, most of the dental clinics in a place like Phuket or Pattaya will have English-speaking staff. A lot of the dentists actually have studied overseas, so you'll find that they, in many cases, speak perfectly good English. The dental care in Thailand, as I've said before, is excellent. So hopefully that you get exactly what you're looking for. But dental care here is very good and the price is extremely reasonable. Tim, do you know when the CCSA meets next? The question from David Boston. Good morning, David. The CCSA will meet next Friday, and that will be the meeting that will determine what's going to happen from the start of June. So what are we looking at? We're looking at trying to get rid of the Thailand Pass, the whole online pre-registration system. We're looking to try and get rid of the compulsory COVID insurance. Once they do that, we've pretty much got rid of the Thailand Pass. Are they going to replace it with something else? I worry if they get rid of the Thailand Pass and they're going to continue wanting to see vaccination certificates, that means that's going to be longer queues at immigration because it's going to be an extra process you're going to have to go through as you stand in the queue at immigration. So that is my fear. So if they get rid of the Thailand Pass, they're basically just going to have to get rid of wanting vaccination certificates or make some system. Maybe uploading that information, if they can keep it very simple and very easy, and heaven forbid if it can just work for everybody, then it may not be a bad thing to continue in the future. But the words Thailand and Pass are certainly got a negative connotation now and will still remain a barrier no matter how simple they are if people do have to do any sort of pre-registration. Okay, on to some other comments from Wayne Grosvenor, a member. Hello, Wayne. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, Tim. Thank you very much. I will, and same to you. Don't Shut Me Down. Best new ABBA song from the Snives. Snives? I agree. I love that song, Don't Shut Me Down. And it would be one of my favourite ABBA songs. Even though they're in their 70s now, that was one of the 2 songs they released as singles for their latest album. And I'm with you, the Snives. I love that song, Don't Shut Me Down. M. Miranda said, ABBA has new songs. Yeah, ABBA released an album. I don't know. Snives might be able to fill us in here. Maybe October or November last year, they released a new album. They're all in their 70s, and the music was absolutely ABBA, and I thought it was in some cases, some of their best work. So, yeah, amazing how you can have a pop career stretching 40, 50 years. Congratulations to ABBA. Voyage was the name of the album, apparently the Snives tells us, and I can't remember when it was released. I think it was October, November last year. Good morning, Tim from Katu, says Mike Burston. Hello, Mike. Thank you very much. A member of the Thaiger, and we appreciate your support. We still live. Damien Jesser, as far as I know, we're live. Let's just check. Yeah, it looks like we're live. I hope we're still live. By the way, I'm on battery on my phone, and the only thing that's going to stop us today will be my battery running out on my phone. I hope it's going to keep us going for a full hour, but fingers crossed, everybody. Afternoon, Tim from Auckland, from Albert, hello. Afternoon from Melbourne, oh, that's earlier, so I think I've said hello to those people already. Cool, just woke up, ha ha ha. Thank you, Damien. You're meant to be up and around and shaven and ready, sitting in front of your computer by 10 a.m. Points will be deducted. We take notice. I'll be passing that information on to Jay tomorrow to make sure that you're up in time for the program. To the back of the class, thank you. Joel, sorry Tim for spelling error. It's pretty hard to spell Tim wrong, isn't it? Really? I can confirm Tim is bringing sexy back. Thank you, Stevie J. You're right, and you know it. Came to Thailand a few weeks ago, had to show vaccination certificate and Thailand Pass at the airport. Isn't it interesting, Paul? You go through that process of pre-registering for your Thailand Pass, your passport details, your vaccination certificate, your Thailand Pass. So yeah, why are you showing your vaccination certificate at the airport if you've uploaded that information? The QR code should be enough. You just scan it and off you go. Doesn't look like it's that simple for a lot of people. So thank you very much, Paul, for that insight. The Bee Gees had a great career. Yes, they did indeed. And not quite though as ABBA from their early music to their latest album, some 50 years, I think. I could be wrong. It's and of quality too. It's not like, oh, the poor sad old things will buy their album because it's ABBA. It was actually a very good album, and they were in top form. I'm a bit behind on the domestic COVID measures in Thailand right now. Can I check if there's a vaccination checks before entering malls and all that? The message from Key J. So at the moment, look, we're starting to see some of the temperature checks waning a little bit. I noticed, for example, coming into this restaurant today, there wasn't a place when I do my hand temperature. Some of the malls in the past, there'd be a temperature check and there'd be somebody there actually making sure you did the temperature check, putting your hand up as you came through. I'm starting to notice that's disappearing. I also noticed in my condo up in Bangkok, they used to have footsteps stuck onto the floor where you had to stand in the elevator. They've been taken out. So we're sort of slowly seeing the de-COVIDization around Thailand. So it's all heading in the right direction. Good morning from Edinburgh. Stephen Broderick, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Edinburgh, a nice part of the world. I bet it's not 32 degrees there today, although it's probably starting to warm up a little bit. Staying Alive, the greatest, Damien Jesser. Yes, the Bee Gees, that disco era of theirs really brought them to a whole new market. We can look back now and sort of laugh at all the get-ups and the hairstyles, but it was, and the falsetto, it really made them stand out from just a lot of other acts during the 70s. Thomas Haste says, hi Tim, I'm travelling to Hat Yai for 2 months with my family. The e-visa process was a breeze and so was the Thailand Pass. Good to hear, Thomas. We hope you have a really good time down south. Local 7-Eleven has it, but don't care if I do it or not. So indeed, if you go to 7-Elevens in Thailand or other of the convenience stores, they do have the, very loud speaking person over there, they do have the little hand things that you're meant to do as you walk in. But yeah, again, they're starting to they used to really religiously say, make sure you do it, or if you didn't, they'd come and tap you on the shoulder and get you to come back and do the infrared temperature check on your way in. Went shopping yesterday at Macro, and yes, they still had somebody there making sure we did a temperature check. So yeah, but it is starting to wane slowly. Patrons 28 member, thank you very much for joining us. The Thailand Pass should be permanent. I mean, documents should be uploaded once and kept on file so you don't have to upload info each time you travel. I'm all in favour of a digital process of arrival in Thailand. If there was a way that you could upload your documentation before coming, and it worked, and it was on an app or something, or you could do it on your desktop, and it meant you could just walk straight through the immigration, maybe just scanning your QR code as you came in, then I'd have no problems with some sort of digital pre-registration, especially if we could get rid of the TM6 form, that little white and blue form, the white form with the blue writing. Yeah, it would be fantastic. I think people would support that, call it the Thailand Entry Pass or something. But the way it is at the moment, people are still having to fill up the TM6 forms as well as do the Thailand Pass. And those sort of things do remain a barrier for a lot of people. Where is Redcliffe? Near Reading, says Bob B. We're in a different part of the world here at the moment. Jack Fletcher, David Richards, the only way in Thailand, they're all talking to each other again. Back in 2000, ABBA turned down $1 billion to tour. That's from 212 Roger. Yeah, they've obviously been trying to get ABBA together over the years and perform. I think what's happening this time is they've digitised themselves performing as 75-year-olds, and they're applying 30-year-old ABBA faces and bodies onto the digital mapping, and they've put together a whole live show that I think is going to be opening up in London in a specially designed arena sometime soon. That show will probably tour in different parts of the world, but you'll see digitally 30-year-old ABBA performers, but it was actually performed by their 75-year-old selves. That'd be really worth seeing, I think. Very interesting technology. Other comments, let's see what we can do. Paul Austin came to Thailand a few weeks ago, had to show vac certificate at the airport. I pressed like and subscribe because Tim is sexy, says a Poet's Corner. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, a Poet's Corner. You're absolutely right. Okay, what have we got here? Other questions. Hashtag J at Lumpini Park from Tony the Tiger 86. I believe Jay never visited Lumpini Park and Isan area. I don't think he has either. So we'll try and make sure he gets to the Isan area in the next period. Thanks, Tim. I hope I run into you guys when I get back to Bangkok. From John Aussie. Yeah, we hope you get a chance. I think we're doing a get-together sometime in June or July. Jay's got that under control, and it's definitely going to happen. It's just a matter of getting everybody together at the right time. There are a lot of changes happening at the Thaiger, so we probably better do it sooner rather than later. Local 7-11, but don't care if you do or not. That's an old message. The Snipe says the ABBA avatars have been released and they look like they're 40. I think they look like they're a bit younger than that. I think they've mapped their sort of 30-year-old selves onto the avatars, as they're calling them. Tim's shirt looks like my marble coffee table. Actually, we went to your marble coffee table in Maranta. We got the design, took a photo, and we've mapped it onto this shirt. Hope you like it. Reading is on the M4 corridor between Bristol and London, says Dam 1. We're talking about England. I think there's readings, and I know, for example, people talk about Chelsea, and I think I just used to live next door to a place called Chelsea, but mine was on the Mornington Peninsula in Australia. I will get you there a comment. Only if you can be sure of data security, it will get hacked and pandemonium. Not sure to what you're referring there. KJ, don't mind the idea of digitalisation of entry docs into Thailand, but not sure if I like the idea of separate app. That's going to be a ton of apps I don't use much if other countries adopted it. Interesting situation, isn't it? Yeah, do you have to upload an app just to get into Thailand? Do you have to upload a different app to get into different countries? It's a new world we're entering into, and I think one thing we need to be sure about is a lot of what we used to do in the past is going to change, but there hasn't been a time in history where you haven't needed to say that. Patrons 28 says might be hacked, but I think that once again I'm talking about something that's a conversation in the thread I'm not following, so I apologise for that. Richard Greenberg says, has the Thaiger ever got in trouble with the Thai government for reporting a story they didn't like? Richard, no. We've never had anybody from the police. We've never had a letter from the government. We've never had anybody stopping us and addressing us as the Thaiger. I mean, I've been stopped a few times by police on my motorbike, checking for registration and helmets and things like that. But no, the Thaiger, touch wood, has never had any problems. I mean, we sort of know after so many years where the grey line is we can't cross. We always take our lead from the Thai media. If they're reporting something, then we consider that fair game, and we can probably go after that. AJF says, hi Tim, enjoying your show with you as usual. Is Good Morning Thailand still getting the number of viewers as you say in your ad, looking for places to visit and do the show? We're always looking at changing things, not only at Good Morning Thailand, but everywhere on the Thaiger. Getting out and about and mixing it up and visiting other places is something we'd love to do more of, but it's just expensive, and it takes me away from the office, and it's less efficient getting my work done when I'm not at the office. By the way, if you want to see, I'll show you where we are. So I'm right next to the kitchen here at Dean and DeLuca. You can see them getting things ready and looking further into the restaurant. That's the very loud person over there that's decided to turn his computer up as loud as he could. But a very nice day here at Dean and DeLuca, and thank you very much for them having me, and for the cup of coffee I had earlier, but as you can see I have finished. They do have nice coffee here. Anyway, I digress. Tim, I'm talking about pros and cons of the Thailand Pass. What have I missed? Okay, it might be hacked. Oh, okay. The Thailand Pass might be hacked. Look, of all the problems they've had with the Thailand Pass, hacking hasn't been a big one of them. There haven't been any high-profile security leaks. There's been a few things reported, but we haven't really seen any evidence of big-scale security leaks on the Thailand Pass. And if they did have some future app or some Thailand Pass as a way of coming into Thailand, are they going to hack into that? Well, maybe they do. But it's what's better, sort of moving on and securing an app, or just having this mountain of paperwork? Living here for so many years, you get used to the mountains of paperwork the Thais like to produce for the most mundane things. And not just buying property, but also for a whole lot of other items as well. I mean, I remember a few years ago I went and got some brakes fixed, and I had one brake pad and its securement to my car, replacing the old brake pad, and they ended up producing 30 pages of A4 paper, about 3 or 4 of them, of which I was required to sign. And the question you are well entitled to ask is, what happens to all that paperwork? Where does it go? Which particular building in central Thailand does all this paperwork end up in? I always think about that final scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark as the camera pans back to show this huge warehouse full of boxes and things. And there must be some huge warehouse somewhere in Thailand that holds the mountains and mountains of paperwork that's produced every day. Not just for people arriving in Thailand, but for just about every transaction you do. There's always a receipt, there's always a piece of paper. Even buying a 9 baht banana at 7-Eleven in a plastic bag, they'll give you a receipt. There's a receipt for everything. And I don't know why they need all the paperwork, but let's hope at some stage there might be some intelligence applied to the way that people can travel to Thailand, that it can be digital, it can be simple, it can be, yes, Patrons 28, secure, and that it will get rid of a whole lot of paperwork. It might be much more accurate, and if it can also alleviate waiting in queues and make your travel into Thailand better and easier and more convenient, then there's a lot to be said for it. Okay, moving on to some more questions. Stevie J, does the government give Thaiger the COVID numbers? No, they don't send them to us. We get them from the Public Health Department each day. We've reported the official numbers for the last 2 years. A lot of people said they don't believe the numbers. The numbers around the world are universally underreported. The number of people who have had COVID is much more than the numbers that have ever been reported. But around the world, each country has got their collection data, and even if you don't believe the actual numbers, it does show trends going up and down. And certainly when it comes to deaths, it's pretty hard to hide a dead body. So we've been republishing the Public Health Department's COVID numbers in the next few weeks. We've actually discussed not publishing the COVID numbers anymore, but we have tried to make sure we've passed on the information from the government. We say it comes from the Public Health Department. Whether you choose to believe the numbers or the trends is entirely up to you. But it's our job as a media organisation to pass on the information as accurately as we can, and when there's questions to be asked, we'll ask those questions as well. But we have, over the past couple of years, gone to the media conferences. I've spoken to the doctor that presents the COVID numbers. He's done a fantastic job, and a very reliable and congenial, believable sort of guy. Has a lot of integrity. And I've spoken to him about, can we believe these numbers? And he's assured me a number of times, explaining how they actually get the numbers from all the hospitals every day, how it's religiously followed, the process and the paperwork. And as Thais do love their paperwork, I'm inclined to believe that the numbers they accumulate are largely accurate. And as I said, if you don't believe the actual numbers, the trends certainly show the extra number of infections or cases, and of course the number of deaths can be quite accurately measured. Tim's living the life, says M. Maranta. I've never worked harder in my life. I'm looking forward to, at some stage in the next few years, having some sort of retirement, although I'll keep working well into my 70s and 80s if I can, and if people still want to read my diatribe. But as far as this particular part of my career is concerned, it's probably in the waning part of my employment, and I'll be moving on to other things at some stage soon. That's just the way things work. Times change, things change, needs change, and my needs change as well. Am I living the life? It's certainly, I've never worked harder in my life than I have over the past 5 or 6 years. I've enjoyed every single minute of it as well. Stevie Perkins, Preston says, Tim, it can be simple, it can be convenient, and it can be easy, and I'm sure they know, but the authorities may not be comfortable with it. Do you agree? Look, I don't really think the authorities in Thailand sit down and conspire to make your life more difficult. I think the love of paperwork and bureaucracy in Thailand tends to make them make decisions that appear inconvenient to us, but they are perfectly logical to the Thais. So it's just part of trying to let go of our Western brains and understand that Thai people do literally think differently. And things that may seem totally illogical to a Western brain can be absolutely logical and feasible to a Thai brain. And that's not to say one idea or one way of thinking is better or worse, it's just the way it is. And part of the joy of living in Thailand is trying to understand the way that things operate here in the country, including the people. But it's always interesting, and it keeps me awake at night sometimes going, why did that happen? What were they actually meaning? I usually figure it out, but it takes a bit of time. Thailand loves bureaucracy. Don't expect the red tape to be reduced too much, says Ray Flaherty. Tassani says, really nice news update. Well, yeah, we've sort of did a news update at the start of the program, and now we're just addressing your comments, and that drives some of the conversation. Wayne Grosvenor, a member, says, who is your Aussie rules team? Please don't say Collingwood. Wayne, I'm happy to report that my Australian rules football team is Collingwood. The Magpies, I've been a member of the Magpies for a long, long, long time. Don't follow them as closely as I used to now, but yes, it's Collingwood. So I may have lost a member there. Sorry, Wayne, if I've disappointed you, but I do still try and catch up with the at least the semis and the finals and the grand final for the Australian rules each year, something I thoroughly enjoy. And when I used to live in Melbourne, I used to enjoy getting to a match or two every now and then. Okay, so Paul Garza, are those bricks behind you real or is that fiberglass? Plastic. It is fiberglass. I thought they were tiles, but no, it's plastic. Good, well spotted. I thought they were tiles, but no, you're right, the grouting's far too good. Okay, let's move on to some other questions. So John Aussie, a member for for 9 months and a Tiger cub. Tim, are you the star of the Tiger Love watching the show? Thank you, John. I'm not the star of the Tiger. I mean, we all contribute and we've all got our better talents and worse talents and our skills and our advantages and disadvantages. But we all try and add a different dynamic so that across the Tiger you get younger perspectives and you get a little bit of left and right and you get a bit of this and that. But we try and give you a fairly rounded look at what's happening in Thailand. Everything from the food to things like sex tourism to real estate to the major news and a bit of politics thrown in as well. Thank you, John Aussie, for your kind comments. Bob B, Tim, did you serve in the Australian military? No. In fact, when I was growing up, I used to worry about the fact that I was going to be conscripted at some stage because when I was young and at school, conscription was still part of the journey of all young Australians, and in those days they were being sent off to Vietnam to fight in the war there. So I'm very glad that they scrapped conscription in Australia. I think it was in 1972, and I never had to serve with the Australian Army, and I never chose to enter the Army. Members of my family, including my father, were members of the Australian Army and served in the Second World War in the part of my father. And some of my cousins have also served in the Australian Army in places like Iraq. But no, I've never served in the Australian military. Every new really interesting, Tassani, doing our best. Natty is the rising star, says Stevie J. Natty, of course, is very popular with a lot of our viewers, and she is not only a rising star from our point of view, she is already a star. We love having her around, and she's recently been getting stuck into some more complex topics, and I think that's really good for her growth, and also good for you to see a different side of Natty from just reading the news to also, you're seeing more of her personality shining through. Is the TM30 still required? Oh, Joe, probably. I don't know. The TM30 hasn't sort of come up on the radar recently. Don't say anything. They might bring it back when they're sort of checking everybody's TM30. That's not usually a problem until there's a lot of tourists and they want to track where they are. The TM30 hasn't been a topic of much discussion recently. To the chairman, another member of the Tiger, the bigger question on Thailand Pass is less to do with the paperwork, which is true, it's the insurance cost. Good point, the chairman. One of the 3 things you have to upload onto your Thailand Pass is your insurance. At the moment, the insurance is set at $10,000. It's been reduced on May the 1st from $20,000, so at least the insurance coverage is coming down. You would like to think that at the CCSA meeting next Friday, they may get rid of the COVID insurance altogether. I don't think so, but that's certainly one of the things we need to get rid of, along the list of getting rid of the Thailand Pass process altogether, if that's what they choose to do, and getting rid of the wearing of face masks. Now, they've already said this week that as far as face masks are concerned, even when they declare COVID-19 endemic in Thailand or in different parts of Thailand, they're still going to require the wearing of face masks. That hasn't gone down well with a lot of our viewers and readers, but that's what they're saying, and that's straight out of the Public Health Department. Very great Tiger, thank you very much. Natty is made for international newscasting. Dam 1, look, let's hope at some stage she does take that next step and into the new part of her career, and we'd certainly wish her well, although we'd miss her at the Tiger. TM30 is still required here in Chiang Mai, visa, residence certificate, etc. Yeah, usually when you check in at a hotel as a foreigner, the hotel or the guest house has to check you in on a digital registration system. So yeah, look, I imagine that is still happening, although the checking of it or the enforcement at different times has been quite high. We haven't really seen the Immigration Department doing a lot of enforcement about that of late, but yeah, it's certainly still there. Damien Jesser, I'm having trouble for new Thailand Pass just to go to Laos and back. The system is so out of date and a big problem. It's easy for me to talk from inside Thailand and not having applied or gone through the Thailand Pass process to say if it's easy or hard. However, we've had thousands of people who have sent us emails, messages, complaints of problems they've had registering for the Thailand Pass. Now, of course, there's been hundreds of thousands of people that haven't had problems, but while there are still people having problems, and it could be problems with their computers, it could be problems with their knowledge of technology, it could be the fact that they've used PDFs rather than JPEGs, and all that sort of stuff. The Thailand Pass does remain something that people are talking about, and while there's still people having problems, they'll publicise those problems on social media and they become a thing, they become a problem. It seems of late, registration for the Thailand Pass has not only become simpler because there's less things to upload, but it's actually been functioning better. And so that's a good thing. Okay, what else have we got here? What is going on with Natty? Says Larry. Nothing's going on with Natty. She's not here. She's been staying in Bangkok this week. She's done quite a few stories, and she was hosting the Thailand News Today program yesterday because Jet was unavailable. So Natty's still around. There's nothing going on with Natty. During the burning season, is Phuket and Hua Hin good places to visit? Question from Elliot Harris. The burning season principally affects central, northern and northeast Thailand, and less so in the south of Thailand. So places like Phuket or Hua Hin would be perhaps places that you could visit during the burning season, which usually goes from, say, January through till April each year. And it principally affects the central, northeast and northern Thailand, particularly northern Thailand around Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai. This year, it's been better, as in not as bad, than it has been in other years. But looking at the fire maps, there's still plenty of burning going on just over the borders in Myanmar and Laos and Cambodia, and that smoke just drifts across the borders. Ryan Bishop, the pervs only want Natty. Tim and Jay provide useful perspectives. Look, yes, obviously Natty's got her fans. Everybody's got their fans, but we're not here to. We're all part of a team. We enjoy working together. There's no there's natural competition between us, but we all work together, and we actually all personally get along very well together. So there's no egos involved with all this. We all have a pretty tight little team, and we're all trying to do the same thing, which is get as many views as we can and try and make sure the information we provide is accurate, or if it's an editorial or a point of view, that it's a point of view that at least sparks some interest or debate with our viewers. Time Out says, time out, okay, got it. Hi from Sweden. Do you have any information on how long time the Thailand Pass takes today? I was thinking of these people who need to do Thailand Pass within 72 hours if they're unvaccinated. Look, we've seen reports of everything from just 3 hours, or sometime even instantly, up to 6 hours as the most usual time it takes to get a Thailand Pass. If you don't get it within a day, you probably need to be contacting the authorities or your embassy to try and find out. And there are emails and even telephone contact numbers and hotlines you can contact with the Thailand Pass. So yeah, usually if your documentation is right, you should have no problems getting your Thailand Pass, usually within 3 to 6 hours. If you have to wait more than a day, then there probably could be some problem with your documentation. I'm a fanboy for life. I'm a Tim fanboy for life, says Jay. J as in the letter J, not J as in 6'3" J. Vintage excellence. How do we get a jet haircut? Well, you just have to go to the shop and buy it. It's just something that you buy and you put on your head, and it looks perfect. And that's Jet doesn't have a hair on his head. He's bald as a bat. Jet's hair is a thing. It's astonishing, isn't it? It's got a life of its own. We're all jealous of Jet's hair. Every time he comes into the office, it just looks perfect. I've never seen him with bad hair. He doesn't have a bad hair day. Drumpula says, good morning. Well, you're a little bit late. We've been here for 54 minutes, Drumpula, so I'm not sure where you've been. Peter Goundry says a message, sends a message. If TM30 doesn't match every stamp, +1, then fine before moving ahead at immigration for expat visas. Okay, I'm not quite sure what you're going on about there. Darm1, I love Tim, Jay, Jet, Natty, Nan, Carmel, Jason, Caitlin, and the whole team at Thaiger. Well, Caitlin left us about a month ago. She's headed back to Florida in America, but the rest of the team's still there, and we've got new people coming. Got a new writer starting next Tuesday, and we might even drag him onto the camera sometime in the future. Comes from Newcastle in England with a broad Novocastrian accent, so he's just another accent that you can complain about. Chupa says, Tim, do the embassy people work on Saturdays as my flight is Sunday and need approval for the Thailand Pass after PCR test on Friday? The people who look after the Thailand Pass are not the embassy people. It's basically been looked after the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and there's people literally looking after it 24 hours a day. So though it's a weekend or a public holiday, there should be people processing the Thailand passes at all times at the moment. Paul Garza, would they approve the Thailand Pass 1 month in advance? I think you can apply for a Thailand Pass, as far as I know, up to 60 days in advance. I don't know, that's what they said when I last looked. They also said that you could arrive or change your date 7 days before or 7 days after the date that you actually get your Thailand Pass. With no Korean and Japanese tourists, why are the bar fines still so high? I don't understand the question, Greg. What's that got to do with Korean and Japanese tourists? You might have to explain. Aloha from Hawaii, says Jay Hawaiian. Thank you very much. Love Hawaii, love the people there. One of the prettiest places in the world, once you're out of Honolulu. But yeah, very nice part of the world, right in the middle of nowhere, right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Damien Jesser, anyone want mangoes? My tree is going crazy. I can't give enough away. Damien, about 2 months ago, our place has got 4 mango trees, and it was absolutely dripping mangoes. But the mangoes on our tree are the little ones, little mangoes, not the big ones, but they were very sweet. They're sort of like a 1 or 2 bite eat. Very, very nice. Have a nice weekend, Kun Tim and everybody at the Thaiger from Tassani. Thank you very much for your good wishes. Tech Symbol, I'm glad by November the pass will be gone. Tex, I don't know whether the Thailand Pass is going to be gone tomorrow or by November, if ever. We don't know, but as soon as we get any indication, we'll pass on any speculation or rumours and make sure you understand that that's the way it's being reported. Let's hope at the meeting next week they address any residual complexities or restrictions, and even the opening times of bars. I mean, they were talking about the endemic sandbox. It's a ludicrous process that they were talking about yesterday. I hope that just vanishes and that doesn't become true. That would just be ridiculous. Making something official that's already happened. Like, these bars are already open. That's the way it should be. They need to be open. They've got mouths to feed as well. The fact that the Thai government or the authorities allow these bars to be open, and then now saying that they're going to have an endemic sandbox so they can open officially, is absurd. Best mangoes I've ever tasted are grown in Taiwan. They have a red skin. I'm unaware of those mangoes, but if they're half as good as the mangoes here in Thailand, they must be good. Damien Jesser, we get small and big, ha ha ha. Yeah, I'm not sure where you are, Damien, but I don't mind a good mango, so you can send some my way. Tanaporn says Boomer's Paradise. I'm not sure if you're talking about the chat room here or Thailand generally. Sick Puppy, good morning to you, a member of the Thaiger. The dumbest idea on the planet is the endemic sandbox. Have to agree with you. I mean, how absurd that they're talking about officiating something that's already happened. That's literally an only in Thailand, or a TIT. This is Thailand sort of moment, isn't it? Sick Puppy. So yeah, the endemic sandbox. I can't believe they actually came up with that term. Somebody did, and it became big news yesterday. In fact, we spent yesterday's Good Morning Thailand talking about it. I poo-pooed it then, and I'll do the same now. Just a ridiculous idea. Okay, we're getting close to 1 hour with you all, and it has been fantastic. We'll probably address another few comments, and my battery on the phone still keeps on going. So what can we do? We'll just see if we've got any more questions here. Is Thailand open for a good massage? That question from Ibrahim. Yes, a lot of the massage shops are open, and a lot of them never closed. There has been a need for traditional Thai massage. If you're talking about the Thai massages with a potential happy ending, then that is something I can't actually answer, although if places like Patong and places like Pattaya are open, then I'm sure that there will be massage parlours providing all sorts of different services that will indeed put a smile on your face for one reason or another. But yes, massage shops in many cases are open and doing good business. Why is there a 1 hour rule? Oh, there's no 1 hour rule. It's just after 1 hour, my voice pretty much dries up and I run out of things to say and the questions sort of run thin. So it seems like 1 hour. There's also a problem we have with our software when we do Good Morning Thailand, that the software, I think it's called OBS, shuts down after 1 hour. Maybe there's a payment plan which we haven't paid or something. So, but after 1 hour, I think you're sick of me and I need to go out and do other things too. So yeah, pretty much an hour is I think a pretty good time to aim for. The Snives says, can anyone tell me where to get a bottle of fine champagne in Phuket? Look, I don't drink, so I'm not the best person to ask this. Maybe somebody in the chat room can provide you with an answer, or you could ask in Thaiger Talk. They might have people there on the forum to give you an answer. I'd probably recommend going to Wine Connection. There's quite a few wine connections around Phuket, and they have stores of wines and probably champagnes as well, or sparkling wines. Damien Jesser, I get my massages by an old Muay Thai fighter, not happy ending. You pay me, I hurt you. Yes, some of the Thai massages, they say soft or strong. I say soft, because even a mild Thai massage can be pretty tough. And if you want it vigorous, you're going to feel it and you are going to be screaming. I've had only one really vigorous Thai massage. It felt really good in a really hurtful way, but they can be very vigorous. And some of the best masseurs are 5 foot high and they've got strong hands and they can to go anyway. The best place to get a fine bottle of champagne is the airport. This advice from Stevie J. To get on the plane to somewhere with a better selection. Paul Garza, I have a champagne taste with a beer budget. Don't we all, Paul? All fake, I think we're talking. Yeah, so let's talk about the sparkling wines. Champagne being obviously the sparkling wines that come out of one particular part of the world. Everyone have a nice weekend. The good wishes there from Patrons28. Thank you to you. And Western Hepworth, is Jung Salon fully open? It was closed, or at least limited opening for a while. Look, I actually asked this question yesterday. Does anybody know if Jung Salon is open? I understand it might still be closed, but I'm not 100% sure. Or even if it could be partially open. So I don't have an answer. Jay and Jason went for a walk on Thursday night along Bangala Road in Phuket. but they didn't actually go to Jung Salon. But by the time they went there, it would have been closed anyway. Paul Garza, the doctor told me I was drinking too much because he found an olive in my urine sample. That might have worked about 60 years ago, that joke, not now. Ibrahim, hey Tim, are you more Aussie, Kiwi or Thai? Well, I am a half Aussie, half Kiwi. My mother was a Kiwi, my father was an Aussie, but I was born and raised in Australia, and even though I've spent 11 years now in Thailand, I would always consider myself an Australian, but I consider Thailand home, if that gives you an answer. What else? Okay, 2 more comments and then I'll say goodbye from this morning, but let's get to these. Wayne, Drumpkiller, I'm an Aussie, I don't follow Collingwood, and as a rule, if you don't, you hate the team. Also, it's saying Collingwood supporters have no teeth. I have plenty of teeth, these are all my own teeth. I've only got 2 fillings, not too bad for 63 years. My mum is Maori and my dad Aussie, says Chupa. Yes, somewhere in my mother's past there was, not my mother personally, but there was some Maori blood in the generations 2 or 3 generations back. So there is some Maori blood somewhere deep inside my DNA. You are very polite, well-spoken man and very kind, says Paul, a true gem of a person, which is hard to find these days. Me? You don't see me in full flight at the office, but I do try and be as polite as I can. It just might be part of an older generation. Yeah, I don't know, but if that was directed towards me, thank you for your kind words. I'll take them as such. The Snives says, I'm going to just keep my vaccination card inside my passport. Yeah, look, wherever you're going at the moment, just take your vaccination certificate with you. I carry mine wherever I go. So I have to produce them at the airport sometimes, not always. Usually when I travel to Bangkok, they don't want to see them, but when I travel from Bangkok to Phuket, they do want to see them. But that's not always the case. That's just a generality, but usually travelling domestically around Thailand at the moment, you are required to carry your vaccination certificate. And if you want to travel on some of the flights, they will let you travel if you've had a PCR test in the last 72 hours if you're unvaccinated. John Aussie, I'm looking at Thailand Pass apps on Google. Which one do I need? So there could be a lot of fake ones there. The Thailand Pass doesn't have an app. It's a online cloud digital system. They may require you to upload an app when you get here. Used to be the More Chana app. I don't know if that's still the case, but you don't need to actually upload any apps to get into Thailand, although at the airport they may or may not ask you to upload an app so they can keep sort of a digital track of you to warn you of any clusters. But I sort of think that's in the past and maybe not current. We haven't had a lot of people talking about that or complaining about it in recent times. Is your accent a standard Aussie accent, asks LG. I think my accent has been thinned out over the past 11 years, where I have to speak slower to a lot of the Thai people so they can understand me. So whilst my accent might be Australian, it's been modified and perhaps not as sharp as it used to be. But when I'm with my Australian friends, I do find myself drifting quite quickly into a thicker Australian accent, and I speak a lot faster. But I find it with such a multinational or international audience, it's best to speak slower and clearer and make sure they can understand me, because that's what communication is all about. Ryan, no PCR test, just ask test from 7-Eleven. Yes, you can get the ATK tests at any convenience store in Thailand. They're literally at the cash register and they're only 50, 60, 70 baht. So if you are required to take an ATK test for a flight, check with your airline provider to see what they need. If you're not vaccinated, perhaps an ATK test taken within a certain amount of time will allow you to get on the airport. Most of those rules will be on their websites. You speak better than the UK. Thanks, Patty. Well, look, I don't have a UK accent. I speak English, but it's obviously an Australian accent with a tinge of Kiwi, but it's been modified. I sort of usually call it a mid-Pacific accent. I know when I spent a lot of time in the United States back in the 90s, I came back to Australia with quite a thick American accent, but they beat that out of me pretty quickly once I got home. Say g'day. G'day. I used to say that a lot, obviously, when I was in Australia. Here I say hello, or usually, even addressing Farang or foreigners, I say Sawadee krap, because that's just the way that you greet people here in Thailand. So, I mean, everybody has their own way. They stick with their own accent. Some learn Thai, some can't learn Thai. Some speak pidgin Thai, some speak Tinglish. So there's a lot of different ways, but basically, if you can speak English, you will be understood in quite a few places around Thailand, principally, of course, the tourist areas. But you get out of those tourist areas up into, say, northeast Thailand or even northern Thailand, and you're going to be understood less unless you can attempt at least some perfunctory Thai language. Drumkiller says, I'm a big fan of the show and I like all the members of the Thaiger team. I don't hate any of the fans either, even when I'm arguing with some, it's only for fun. Look, I think disagreement is fine, but let's keep the conversation civil. I think that's the best way to conduct ourselves here at the Thaiger. Damien Jesser, yep, same, only if meet an Aussie only, then g'day, mate. Even when I'm meeting Australians, I don't tend to say g'day anymore. It tends to, I'd say Sawadee krap or hello or how are you, or make some insulting remark about them, which is sort of what Australians tend to do, always making fun of each other. So it's Sawadee krap, not Sawadee ka. Well, if you're a man, you would say Sawadee krap, Sawadee kap. Yeah, that's just the way that you address people as a male in Thailand to other people, of course, Thais. Wine merchant near Surin. Thank you very much, Ray Bond, telling us where you could get a bottle of champagne. Wine merchant near Surin. Google that, you might find it. And two more. I think I've said two more questions for the last half hour. Northern Europe. We like your speaking, it's easier, better. Look, I'm hoping I'm speaking as clearly as I can, and I do my best. Obviously, my accent might be too thick for some people. It's certainly not intended. Krap, male, ka, women. Yes, it's Sawadee ka. If you're a woman and you're addressing a Thai person, you say Sawadee ka. If you're a male, you say Sawadee ka. Okay, that's about it. I think we've sort of gone through some of the main stories today. You can catch up with all the latest stories at thethaiger.com. Jay will be here tomorrow morning with the Thaiger Weekend Update, and hopefully he gets to bed early tonight and he's ready for you all tomorrow to pass on his thoughts and his comments and perhaps answer a few questions as well. Jay Hawaiian's making a comment about accents. We Americans don't have an accent. Really? JK, when I was a kid, I spoke with a heavy pidgin English. Keep up the good work, communication skills, many foreigners lack those. When I was in America, I remember going down to the deep south. The deep south, I'm talking of southern parts of Louisiana and New Orleans, and their deep southern accent, almost Cajun accents, were very, very thick and difficult for me to understand, and I can assure you they found me quite hard to understand as well. In the northern parts of America and also on the west coast, I had a lot less trouble. But I do love the southern accent, and probably the longest time I ever spent in the US, around about 3 months, I spent in the deep south, in Mississippi and Louisiana. It doesn't get much more southern than that. Can we type KKK for Kopkun Krap? Ooh, probably wouldn't, Drumkiller. You would find some people are offended by those 3 letters. Put in that order. I'm 6 hours from New Orleans, says Paul Garza. New Orleans is an amazing place. Definitely worth a visit at least once in your life. I was there for a Mardi Gras. Life-changing experience. Tim, you sound like a South Londoner to me. That's an insult. Please don't accuse me of being from England. That's not on. If I sound like a South Londoner, it might be because I've watched My Fair Lady a few too many times. Good night, says Paul. Good night to you. Good afternoon to you. Good morning to you, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining us for the past hour and 9 minutes here at the Thaiger. Jay's here tomorrow. All the latest news at thethaiger.com. You can also get onto the Thaiger forum and you can argue with each other there, all the moderators, and you can get your comments heard to a much wider community. So good luck there at the Thaiger forum. And yeah, we've also got programs coming out over the weekend on different matters. I'm back in Bangkok tonight, so me and Jay and maybe Natty will be with you for Good Morning Thailand on Monday morning. But from all of us here at Phuket, just me actually, thank you for watching and we'll see you next time.